if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. So if you're in a place in your life and you ain't happy with it, you have to change some things. But you have to make a conscientious decision that you're going to change. And it's not dependent on anybody else.
How bad do you want it? How hungry are you? I see life waltzing with me, saying, you want a tango? Come on. You want this? You willing to run over here? Come on. Are you willing to climb this mountain here? Come on. Are you willing to hold your breath and try and swim down to this level? Come on. I see it as a challenge that introduces me to myself. And so we all have to look at life like that. It's a little game, I think. Yes, I'm saying they can give you the word. Now, you got a choice to accept the word or reject the word. See, there are diseases that people say are incurable, and they say they're incurable because records show or statistics indicate there's only 95%, rather there is a 95% of the people that get this disease die. And I say that if 5% live, then the disease is not incurable. 5 people walked away. Now we need to look at those 5 and find out what was going on there. What happened? And I think that those 5 said, hey, I'm not ready to go. I've got some more living to do. I've got something else to do. And that they harness their feelings, they harness that healing energy that is within themselves, knowingly or unknowingly, that cause them to extend their lives. So what we've got to begin to do is only embrace those things that's for our highest good. That no one has the right to determine or has the knowledge to say how long we're going to be here. And that we can choose to surrender or we can choose to take a stand and fight. And there are a lot of people who fight who are still here. There are people who fight and who go. But at least they go out fighting. They didn't just surrender. They didn't just throw in the towel on themselves. And I'm saying that there is something in us. There's a power and an energy that's in us that we owe it to ourselves to take on anything. Dis-ease in the body, poverty, opposition, whatever is between that and which we desire, and we feel that will give us a full and rich life, we should fight for it. And you just got to decide that my life is worth this kind of effort. And fight with everything in you, night and day, with every breath that you have. Most people don't have that kind of fighting spirit. Most people expend more energy watching a football game or a basketball game or some type of sporting event that they will give to their dream. They'll spend more time talking about what happened on television in some soap opera or some spectacular entertainment event, stress-relieving activity, than focusing on the possibilities for their own lives. They don't get that excited about themselves and their own potential for greatness. And I'm saying that we need to begin to start focusing in on ourselves and using our energies to move us from where we are in the direction of where we want to go. Overcoming the automatic mind that our experiences, our past results have told us, our current reality. Beginning to know that this is not it. That we are always involved in either creating reality or buying into the reality that we see. So we begin to learn how not to judge according to appearances. As we begin to, with everything in us, tenaciously to pull down the strongholds on our minds and do maintenance work to make sure that those negative thoughts and that automatic mind doesn't creep in on us again. So we're worrying about or beginning to only focus on and see the obstacles and the limitations as opposed to the solutions of the possibilities. As we work on ourselves constantly, what we will find is that we become at one or in alignment with the universe, and we are able to produce what appear to be miracles to most people, but it's only a perfect outworking of the law. when we are working in harmony with the universe. And so the key to it is beginning to continue to have a whole vision of what you want to create, of constantly working with your feelings and your energy, keeping it positive, and engaging in actions and having things where the pictures, scriptures, music, friends, relationships, goals that challenge you and feed into you and create this new reality for yourself. Because as you continue to hold that in focus, as you continue to charge that with words and sell yourself on your having it, acting as if it already is, when you finally get that feeling, hit that level of consciousness, it will manifest. People come out of nowhere and support you. You get unexpected money that you had no idea that was going to come your way. Help and assistance from strangers comes to you, and you say, whoa. You begin to discover things showing up that you need, that you didn't even know you needed them. And here they are, right here at your disposal when you get to that new level of consciousness.
How bad do you want it? The dreams God has placed in your heart, the promises He's spoken to you, are not going to come to pass without opposition, without delays, without people trying to talk you out of it. There will be plenty of opportunities to get discouraged, to lose your passion and think that it's not meant to be. But if you're going to reach your destiny, you have to have a made-up mind. If you give up after the first time, or the 5th time, or the 30th time, what that really means is you didn't want it bad enough. There should be something you're believing for, that you are relentless. You are not moved by how impossible it looks. You're not discouraged by how long it's taking. You don't give up because people told you no. Your attitude is, if I have to believe my whole life, I am not going to stop believing. I am not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to settle for mediocrity. I'm going to keep pursuing what God put in my heart. You can't be passive and indifferent. You have to have a holy determination. It's more than just your will. It's a fire on the inside, a knowing that it's supposed to be yours. When everything says it's not going to happen, instead of getting discouraged, you kick in to a new gear. Normal people would give up. Normal people would settle, but you're not normal. You want it on another level. How bad do you want what God has put in your heart? Bad enough to outlast the opposition? Bad enough to overlook some insults? Bad enough to do the right thing when the wrong thing is happening? Do you want it bad enough to keep pursuing even when circumstances say it's not going to happen? Many of the difficulties we face, the delays, the times it's not fair, that's simply a test. God is seeing how bad do you want it. This is what weeds people out. If you're overcome by problems, you let circumstances push you down, people talk you out of it, you're not going to have the strength or the courage to sustain where God is taking you. Don't have a weak mentality, have a warrior mentality. You have to be more determined than the opposition. If you give up every time things don't go your way, you didn't want it bad enough. You have to dig your heels in and say, I am in this for the long haul. I know what God has spoken to me. I will get well. I will accomplish my dream. I will meet the right person. You're not moved by what's not working out, by how long it's taking, or by who's not for you. You know who is for you, the Most High God.
Sometimes from a delightful experience or a tragic experience, it can be the day that changes everything. For me, it was the Girl Scout that knocked on my door when I was 25 years old and gave me the big presentation about Girl Scout cookies, and I wanted to buy. She said, it's only $2, several flavors. And with a big smile, she politely asked me to buy. And I wanted to. Big problem, I didn't have $2 in my pocket. So I didn't want to tell her that, right? I'm a grown man. I'm 25 years old. I've been to 1 year of college. I've got a little family going. So I decided next best to lie to her. I said, look, I've already got lots of Girl Scout cookies. I bought some, and we still haven't eaten all of them. They're in the house. She said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. And she leaves. When she leaves, I say to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I mean, how low can you get? Right. Lying to a Girl Scout, that's about as low as it gets. So I promised myself that day it would never happen again. That was a life-changing day for me, recognizing that I was not in a good position. I must start making my search. A guy climbs the stairs, and there's about 40 stairs to climb, and he finally gets to the top, sits down, and he's out of breath. And he says, wow, this is not good. I've got to do something about my health. So it can be something that simple. So he starts a little research program and decides to get his health in order, develop a good nutritional program, whatever. And from that day on, he says, I'm not going to be out of breath anymore.
Some of you know what I'm talking about. Raise your hand if you know that. That voice is awesome. So you have got to stand up to that voice. When you're working on something you want to achieve, you have got to stand up to that voice. You've got to sell yourself every day on your abilities, on what you're doing, on the goal that you want to reach. You've got to sell yourself every day, every day, every day. According to your level of belief, it will manifest itself in what you're doing. Whatever we have right now, whatever we're demonstrating in our lives, is a result of what we believe subconsciously that we deserve. And part of increasing that belief level is that you have got to convince yourself every day. You've got to sell yourself. I do a lot of training for many corporations, and I conduct sales seminars, and I've heard all kind of guys doing techniques and training people techniques of how to close sales and how to work with and begin to control the sale and how to ask for the close. Let me share something with you. You can learn all the techniques in the world. If you don't believe in yourself, it won't happen for you. I learned all of it. So that's why I do a training called Focus on the Seller. You've got to focus on you. And as you convince you, as you sell yourself every day, every day, every day, you will begin to see a difference in the things that you're doing. Selling yourself on your ability to perform a job, to achieve a certain objective. Telling yourself every day, here I go again, and I got what it takes. This is my day, and nothing out here is going to stop me. And when you go out there, life, say, come over here. Say it again. Well, I'll be back tomorrow. That brings me to the next thing. It takes courage to act. Part of being hungry when you've been defeated, it takes courage to start over again.
How you talk and act while playing volleyball on a Saturday afternoon probably isn't the same as how you'd talk and act around a group of people who want to invest in your company. How you communicate with your old friends and family members is probably an abbreviated version of how you should communicate in a high-powered business setting. When you meet a new group of people, you must watch and listen and be alert before you decide on the appropriate communication style. You might greet old friends with a slap on the back and a tasteless joke, but you certainly wouldn't greet a multi-million-dollar opportunity that way. You must take a few moments to study the temperament of your audience. Listen to how they communicate with each other. Watch how they react to situations and comments. Study your audience, lest you engage in some behavior that will prove inappropriate and costly. Some people would make about $150,000 a year, but they have to be satisfied with about $50,000 because their behavior is costing them the rest of it. They've got the skills, but their behavior is costing them. Keep setting them aside. So let's talk about some of those things in the marketplace that might cost you more than you want to pay. Here's one: bad language. You've got to be careful with language in the marketplace. You've got to be careful here. Some language is more appropriate for the bar. So what should you do? Leave it in the bar. Or else what? You'll have to pay the consequence. We must all be students of consequences, things that cost us, and language is one of the most important ones to consider. Language in the marketplace. Now, if you cuss and tell dirty jokes in the marketplace, that's acceptable to who? Other people in the marketplace who cuss and tell dirty jokes. You've got no problem with them. Matter of fact, they'll probably enjoy having you around. But if you cuss and tell dirty jokes to those who will be offended, then what? They certainly won't want to have you around. And what happens then? It'll cost you. Next one, being late. In some circles it's acceptable, but I'm telling you, most people view being late as being disrespectful. Disrespectful of their time. And if they feel that you're disrespectful of their time, they'll also feel you're disrespectful of their business. Why? Because everything affects everything. Now, if you have a legitimate excuse and your reputation already says that you're punctual, then you might get away with it a time or two. But be careful about being late. One day you just may be too late to close the deal. Be on time. You've also got to be careful about using inside lingo on the outside world. Your industry's buzzwords are just that. Your industries. Be careful not to use this terminology on the outside. People who speak computer language, they've got to learn to shift gears when they go out into the open marketplace. So watch your lingo. Remember to shift gears from the inside lingo to the outside world. You've got to become a good judge of character. Why? To protect yourself. There are shepherds, and there are sheep, and there are wolves. And we must be wise and understand that some wolves are so clever, they've learned to dress up like sheep. But do not miss the story of the full drama of life called good and evil. Awareness, sensitivity, understanding, knowing the scenario and being on alert for what is called the inevitable. We must learn to be a good judge of character. And here's something else we must learn to do to work well with others. We must learn to deliver criticism and express anger in a safe way. It's inevitable. During the course of working with others, it's inevitable that you'll come across some situation that'll result in anger. Or criticism needs to be handed down. It's just a part of life, that you delegate some responsibility, and through either a lack of good communication or a lack of good listening on the other end, it's inevitable that some situation will get you all hot and bothered. Now what do you do with your anger? You can't lash out. You can't lash out at your children or your friends or your colleagues. But here's what you can do, and here's what you must do. Lash out at the problem or the situation. Honey, you say to your teenager, you know I love you, but what you did was wrong. I hate it that you took the car without asking first. And I especially hate it that you got a speeding ticket. What were you thinking? So whatever the punishment might be, make sure you're punishing the bad deed, not the person. Your assistant ends up sending the contract to the seller instead of the buyer. Make sure your assistant knows that you appreciate him, but you don't appreciate the wrongdoing. Whatever criticism you hand down, whatever anger you're processing, make sure that the one to receive it knows full well that you care about the person, but hate what they did. And if you're too steamed up to be this rational about it, make sure to keep your mouth closed until you've cooled off a bit. In Dale Carnegie's book, The Leader in You, he describes the attributes of kind criticism. He quotes Andres Navarro's technique of kind criticism as the 3-for-1 rule. If you don't like something about the way someone works, write down the problem. But before you confront that person with criticism, discover 3 good things about the person. Noticing 3 good things gives you the right to criticize 1 bad thing. Interesting thought. Criticism after appreciation. With well-delivered words, well-chosen words, you can admonish the doing without admonishing the doer. This is important. You love the person. You hate the act. Make sure they know the difference. You don't have to couch the words. You don't have to hide your anger or disappointment. But you do have to make sure that your communication is effective so that the wrongdoing will never be done again.
Some people are not willing enough to believe in themselves. But what are you going to do? How will you make a difference? How will you stand?
There is no perfect time to start. You got to start now with changing your life. We're all being tested in life.
You were born to do something great with your life. You're supposed to do something special, and you're gonna. I can promise you that you have all the potential in the world within you.
Strength, leadership, power, authority, guidance, patience, God's gift to us. As men, hundreds of people give up on their goals on a daily basis, and it's usually because they realized quickly after starting their journeys that they're alone. Nobody's waking them up in the morning. Nobody's pushing them when they start to make excuses. And nobody's patting them on the back when they hit a milestone. Stop relying on outside sources of inspiration, motivation.
And how would you fight these battles that we face each and every day of our lives? They will continue to come, and you will not win every battle. And the battles that you face will help you to get stronger. Because even if you lose a battle and you're still breathing and you're still walking and you're still able to make moves, then you still have enough fight left to carry on. And on this journey,
And guess what? This is one test you can't cheat on. We all have our own test. Some of us are obese. Some of us are depressed. Some of us are insecure. In the military, we had a big old rucksack on the back. Had batteries, water, extra gear. Your extra gear is the shit you're dealing with in life. And the only way to overcome it is for you and you alone to face it. You have to do your best work when you're least motivated. So those days you don't want to do it, guess what you gotta do? Stay hard.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self? In other words, if you could go back in time and you could talk to your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give to that 20-year-old John?
While you are carrying on all of the things, remember the circumstances that you had to face. Remember the losses. Remember the victories. And understand that everything that you went through in your life, it had to be. It had to be this way. You may question it, but it had to be this way. You may not even understand it, but it had to be this way. Even with the mistakes that you've made in your life, yet it had to be this way. But the mistakes that you have made, you've learned, you've grown.
And you know, honestly, I think to myself, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can't go back in time. I can't change what I did when I was 20 years old. What I'm actually thinking to myself is, what do you tell yourself today to get you on the path?
Someone asked me one time, what's your biggest fear? My biggest fear is that 300-pound man, never knowing I can be who I am today. A lot of us are wasteful, but we're wasteful of who we are in life. And get all you can out of yourself. Stay hard.
It's too hard. Life isn't fair.
Support can get you there. Put your goddamn head down and take charge here in life. True desire in the heart that it's that you have whatever it is you want to do, the thing that you want to do to help others and to grow and to make money. That desire that it's that's God's proof to you. Set before and already to vindicate that. It's yours. You can't get it because you want it. If you put in the work, they can't deny you. If you put in the work, they can't stop. Be great, pursue your own version of happiness. Life.
And I know the rest of the world is probably telling you constantly to be average, to be ordinary. You know, there's different haters you have in your life. There's people who put you in your box. There's people who overlook you, that make you feel invisible. And it's important that you hear from me that that's not who you are. And by the way, you're not even who you've already been in your life. Your past does not equal your future. Your present does not equal your future. And I just want to remind you officially that you can do something great with your life and that you're destined to do something great with your life and that you were born for a reason. So important that you know that you hear that from me today and that you begin to believe it about yourself. Because if you don't believe that about yourself, there's no chance it's going to happen. You can't achieve something in your life that you don't believe strongly, certainly, that you can achieve. And I know that I find many of you today, some of you are listening to this today, you've got momentum in your life and things are going well and you're looking for a key, or you want to hear about a mistake you might make that you can miss because I warned you about it. And I'm going to give you all those things, you know, that on every program. But I know there's many of you that arrive here today, you're just not in the groove.
Well, I think the one thing that discipline definitely does help you with is it helps you get things done. And when you get things done, when you actually do things, you have more success. If you have more success, and sometimes a big part of success is just doing it. Yeah. That's like 90% of it is just showing up. Get there and start working. Like, you're not going to feel perfect every day. If I only worked out when I felt good, because there's a lot of days I don't want to do it. It's pretty much the same with everybody that actually gets good at something. There's got to be those days you push through, and they're probably going to be more numerous than the days you don't. And so the benefit of discipline in my eyes has always been that through discipline, I get things done.
Always offers you a second chance. You know what it's called tomorrow for far too long. You've been holding yourself back. This is time for you. To walk with purpose, it's time for you. To walk into your gift. It's time for you to live your best life. It's wrapped in your capacity, your ability to believe in a dream, even if nobody believes in you.
Things aren't going great. Maybe you're in a down cycle in your life. Maybe there's some letdowns and some hurts that are happening right now. And maybe a little bit of, a little melancholy, a little anxiety, a little fear, maybe all the way to some depression. And I just want to be that person who reminds you that you can do something special and that you're going to, and that you have everything you need within you right now to make your life great, and you can turn it around at any time you decide to. You know, what you allow is what's going to continue in your life. I put out a post about this several weeks ago. It's hard to accept this, but what's happening in our lives, we're allowing it to happen. And to some extent, we almost believe we deserve it because we produce in our life what we really believe we're worth, what we really believe we deserve. And it's hard to accept that because it seems coincidental, that the wrong person entered our life, or there was a business setback, or our car broke down, or, our company went out of business, or whatever it might be. One of your clients just quit and changed their mind. And it seems coincidental, but you really truly are getting out of your life what you believe you're worth.
To get something you never had, you'd have to do something you never did. If every time you go to better yourself, somebody hits you with a line like, why? If you want to do that, you need to find another social circle. If I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything. I want to fall forward. I figure at least this way I'll see what I'm going to hit. We did not come this far to just break down and lose now.
I always say that I'm like the most lazy, disciplined person I know because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I always do. One of the big problems is sitting down and doing the work. Mm-hmm. And you got to, and
Pressfield talks about that in the most concise and beautiful way. And he labels it like an enemy. He calls it resistance, and that you have to sit down, you have to overcome resistance, and that the pro goes to work. And it doesn't matter if you're sick, it doesn't matter if you have kids, it doesn't matter what, you're a pro and you go to work. And that just, it puts it in your head that this is what I do. This is what, and you have pride in that. And then when you are in front of that keyboard and you look down at the count, I put 1,000 words in, you're doing the work. Yeah. And out of that work, gems blossom. Yeah. Little things, but you might have a day where you just write nothing but dog shit.
Your belief is counted unto you as righteousness. It will make the difference between where you fell short and what I call you to be. The last mile of the way is filled in simply by faith. That's a really good deal.
Whatever we have right now, whatever we're demonstrating in our lives, is a result of what we believe subconsciously that we deserve. And part of increasing that belief level is that you have got to convince yourself every day. Let me share something with you. You can learn all the techniques in the world. If you don't believe in yourself, it won't happen for you.
This is who I am. I am defined by my vision, my purpose, and my goals. That's my playbook. That's my creed.
That's what I believe. You see, the reason that's important, if you know who you are, then you know who you are not. If you don't know who you are, somebody can ascribe any identity onto you, and you will morph into whatever they want you to be. And that's what has happened with a whole lot of us. Some of us have been 10 or 12 different people, depending upon who we were with, because we don't know who we are. We become whoever they want us to be, and then when they leave us, we are confused because we have no real understanding of who we are.
All of the power that you have and all of the strength that you have and all the ideas that you have are born in your uniqueness. And what makes you unique, and this may sound really silly, but it's just really true. What makes you unique is what makes you special. And if you don't, if you spend your whole life trying to conform, trying to be what somebody else thinks you should be, or fit into a mold or fit into a system, and you dull down your specialness, then you're dulling down all of your ability to change the world. So I think that it's very, very important that people have an opportunity to be the best of themselves that they can be.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you believe that? Wouldn't you sleep good tonight if you believe that? Wouldn't you walk around with your head up and your back straight if you believe that? Say it again, I can do all things. You wouldn't be intimidated by anybody, anywhere, at any time if you just believe that. Say it again, I can do all things. Can you imagine how different your job interview would go if you really believed that and walked in, they said, what do you do? I can do. Imagine if you were taught that from the time you were born into the world. The first thing your mama told you when they spanked you on the behind is, don't worry about it, baby. You can do all things. We quote it, but we don't believe it.
I believe in me. If you stop believing in me, I'm not gonna believe in myself any less. If you believe that I'm irrelevant, that no one is checking for me, and that I don't mean anything to the world, because you think or believe that about me, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna believe it about myself. See, the day that you start living your life according to everybody else's opinion is the beginning of the end. Most of y'all, I see it every day, all day. Most of you guys don't actually know your self-worth. You don't know your self-value. So you're like a vulnerable little child and you're shaking. And it's like, everybody loves me this week, so I love me this week. Next week, it drops. So now you're running around insecure, feeling self-conscious, and not loving yourself, sad and depressed, based on the feedback, the responses, and the energy that the rest of the world is giving you.
Okay, so imagine that something glimmers before you. It's an interest that's dawning, and you decide, well, first of all, you're paralyzed. You think, well, how do I know if I should pursue that? It's probably a stupid idea. And the proper response to that is, you're right, it probably is a stupid idea, because almost all ideas are stupid. And so the probability that as you move forward on your adventure that you're going to get it right the first time is zero. It's just not going to happen. And so then you might think, well, maybe I'll just wait around until I get the right idea, and which people do, right? So they're like 40-year-old, 13-year-olds, which is not a good idea. And so they wait around until it's waiting for Godot, until they finally got it right. But the problem is you're too stupid to know when you've got it right. So waiting around isn't going to help, because even if the perfect opportunity manifested itself to you in your incomplete form, the probability that you would recognize it as the perfect opportunity is zero. You might even think it's the worst possible idea that you've ever heard of anywhere. Highly likely, highly likely. And so you can take these tentative steps on your pathway to destiny, and you can assume that you're going to do it badly. And that's really useful, because you don't have to beat yourself up. It's pretty easy to do it badly. But the thing is, it's way better to do it badly than not to do it at all.
You'll be surprised of the ideas that will come to you, of the people that you'll be able to attract, of the opportunities that you'll be able to see. You'll begin to see things that have been standing there looking you in the face, say, I can't believe this has been here all this time. Here's a habit that I do. Maybe it might be of some value to you. I get up in the morning and I start writing what great ideas that I can think of today that can improve me and that will enable me to reach my goal. And I just let my mind flow. Sometimes I write 15, 20 ideas. Some days it's more difficult than others. One idea can change your life.
See, anybody who's ever done anything, who's ever taken a chance, doesn't mean that they're not afraid. Courageous does not mean being the absence of fear. I think that being courageous is willing to do it because that's what you feel, and you're going to do it anyhow, regardless. You're not going to be immobilized by your fears or your doubts. You admit, okay, I'm scared to death. Now, okay, what is it that I must choose to do? Go ahead on and experience that fear, but don't let that fear immobilize you.
I'm telling y'all right now, the day that you allow the opinions of everybody on the outside world to define your day-to-day, month-to-month, and year-to-year, it's the beginning of the end. Love yourself, believe in yourself, independent of the validation of the world. Have opinions and feelings about yourself, independent of the feedback.
Those of you who are dealing with things, walking through situations in this life, those dreamers in here who are trying to build a dream, everything seems to be going fine, and all of a sudden you hear something. There's a rumbling. Something is happening that is trying to distract you. You've got anxiety. You can't sleep. You're tossing and turning all night long, wondering what is going on. God, what is going on in this moment? What is going on? What is happening right now? I've been there. It's a very difficult place when you know that you've got anxiety all over you.
You have to go from being a person of good intentions to a person of good actions. That's the great separator. To develop yourself, you've got to get out of the intending world and get into the doing world. In fact, your good intentions are good intentions, but they're worthless. Totally worthless. The most overrated phrase in the world is good intentions. I know all kinds of people, they have good intentions, but they never do good because they didn't act upon what they do. So if you want to develop yourself and you want to get better, just act on what you've already expressed that you want to do. The moment you quit talking about it and start doing it, now you've got something. I had a friend named Randy one time who came to me and said, John, your talk talks and your walk talks, but your walk talks a lot louder than your talk talks. That's true. Become a person of action today.
Key phrase, faith is the ability to see things that don't yet exist. And that's how things exist. How did this hotel get here? Someone saw it while the property was vacant. You'll say, well, is it possible to see this hotel when it isn't here? And the answer is yes, of course. If somebody cannot see it when it is not here, then it will never be here. So it's possible to see things that don't yet exist. When should you start building this hotel? This is a good question for your philosophical musings. When should we start building the house? When should we start? And here's the answer. As soon as it's finished. You wouldn't start building the house until you had it finished. If you just started laying bricks and somebody came around and said, what are you doing? And said, I'm just laying bricks. And said, what are you building? And you said, I have no idea. See, they'll take you away to a safe place. So have you got that now? It's possible to finish something before you start. In fact, it would be a bit foolish to start until you had it finished. We've heard the old expression, don't count your chickens until they're hatched. No, we have the ability to count our chickens long before they're hatched. Because we know, we have faith, we believe. We use the law of averages. There's bound to be at least so many. So it's possible to see the end and then begin. Start looking into the future of what you would like to accomplish, and where you would like to go, the person you would like to be, and see if you can't get a better picture of the finished objective. See yourself there. See yourself in possession of. Decide what you want and act as if it was already yours. Now, the reason we can act thinking that it's already ours is because not only can we vision the end results, we can also vision the beginning of making it real. So we don't start till it's finished, but it is possible for human beings to finish something before they start.